And that's, of course, what you can look forward to in the papers this morning. But first, we shift gears now to focus on the digital segment, where we look at the hashtags that were some of the conversation starters this week. And to help us do that, we have Paballo. Please talk us through it.
Thank you, Sakina. So I firstly want to focus on what is actually trending on Twitter right now. And the biggest trend at the moment is SAFTA's 12. Those are the South African Film and Television Awards. And one of the notable awards is the film Inxeba, The Wound, winning the Best Feature Film. So we'll see how that hashtag unfolds during the course of the day. And
there was quite a bit of controversy around Inxeba.
Yes,
so I can imagine that some people will have quite a bit to say about it now being, actually acclaimed for that.
And it's back on the big screens now, so people can go watch it.
Indeed.
And then we also have another hashtag, which is hashtag SAvsAus, with the Australian cricket team basically admitting to ball tampering. Now, the captain says that he has no interest in resigning. So like I said, obviously we'll see also how that develops during the course of the day.
Absolute madness here. Yeah. Because a lot of the action has been happening off the field, as it were. But of course, the ball tampering incident on the field. But what he did there was absolutely fascinating. And I can't understand why he will not resign over this.
And I mean, in terms of, you can imagine the condemnation by people on social media. So they're basically saying that he needs to go. We cannot have a person who is leading a team who's doing things like that, you know.
I mean, it's on the screen at the moment, and you can actually see the lengths to which he went, because he actually had that backup, a cloth that he then alleged he used to actually shine the ball. But we know there was tape involved that's miraculously disappeared.
So this was obviously met with a lot of disappointment, but like I said, we'll see how the hashtag basically unfolds itself as the day progresses. And then in another hashtag that's trending this morning, it is the CTIJF 2018, which is the Cape Town International Jazz Festival. And this year's installment has the likes of international artists like Corinne Bailey, Robert Glasper, and Jordan Rakei. And then we also had artists such as Amanda Black, Mikasa, and Black Motion, like our local artists who are also rocking the crowds. So that will also unfold as the day progresses. And then in another hashtag, we have hashtag Earth Hour, which is basically like a global call for international unity in addressing the devastating effects of climate change. But Sakina, in terms of all the other stories that were trending this week on social media, we had the floods. Right? And we basically saw an image on Twitter where there was a car that drove into a sinkhole. And this was the pictures that was retweeted like over 1,500 times. And basically people on Twitter are saying that, but if a person's car can literally drive into a sinkhole like that, then they're questioning the authenticity of engineers who are on the roads. You know?
Scary, scary stuff. And, I would have thought that at this point, someone would have at least gone and investigated why it is that whenever we have heavy rains, the roads seem to wash away. So, yeah, let's take a look at some of those pictures.
And then we also had a tweet coming through from Traffic SA. This was in Centurion. Centurion was a Mesa State Centurion, and it was basically just trying to get anywhere was really difficult. And we have Arriva Live basically using their social media page to tell people that avoidance is better than trying to get through flooded areas. Stay indoors if you have to, but just avoid being in flooded areas. And then we also have the South African government heeding the same call to say that parents just must make sure that their kids are indoors while this is happening.
And there's many more of those.
There's many of those that are coming through, obviously, yes. And then in our other hashtag, Sakina, is the EFF Deputy President Floyd Shivambu. He was involved in what he refers to as a scuffle between himself and a journalist this week in Parliament. He has since apologized for the incident. However, I think the sentiment on social media is that, look, just because you're a big shot in Parliament, it doesn't mean that you have the right to do whatever you think you want to do. Like we have a comment coming through from Wesley saying that hashtag Floyd Shivambu wasn't a race issue. It's an issue of violence and contravention of the freedom of the press, nothing else. Floyd Shivambu acted like a thug. He apologized unreservedly. There's your proof. And then we also have other comments coming through from people saying, basically sharing the same sentiment as the previous tweet that we had, saying that you don't behave like that. No matter what happens, you don't put yourself in a situation where you behave like that. And then we have other people who are actually defending him and saying, we really are a sissy nation. We call that smaller handling of hashtag Floyd Shivambu and assault. I'd condemn it if it was on a woman or a child. So those are just it's just interesting to see how different opinions are playing out on social media.
Absolutely. But if you want to safeguard yourself, it's simple. Just make sure that you don't put your hands on anyone for any reason.
Indeed. And then obviously South Africa celebrated Human Rights Day on Wednesday. And basically this is a campaign where we have the Bill of Rights, which basically states how many people suffered so that we can enjoy the freedoms that we have today. This was a picture that was shared across Twitter, across Facebook, across even people on their WhatsApp statuses, they shared this. So I thought this was very interesting, and it basically just gives you a breakdown of what people had to go through, the suffering that they had to go through so that we can be free. And then I also liked how a lot of influential people on social media like Karabo Mokhoko and Mams Bapoyane were saying that Human Rights Day is a reminder of our rights and the cost paid for them on 21 March 1960 in Sharpeville, 69 dead, 180 wounded for better lives. So they're basically just using their pages to raise awareness and to say that even though we are celebrating this day, let us not forget what this day actually represents.
Well, thank you so much, Paballo, and those were the major hashtags this week. And after the break, a veteran photojournalist, Peter Makubane, he will recall the events of Sharpeville massacre, so don't go away.